Good morning, ladies and gents, and germs as well. This is Darren Finnegan from 3D Pod. I'm here doing my first solo 3D podcast. Exciting times. So, just wanted to jump on today. I'm going to do a little bit of a spiel about values and value-based goal setting, and essentially values that drive me. I've had a few people say to me before about what their perceptions of my values were, and I've found it quite interesting to then feedback and share my insights into it. So within healthcare, there's obviously a big shift towards value-based goal setting, and what that means in simple English is, as a physio, if I had to teach someone how to do a squat, you might have to try and make that good call about what you feel that is their driver, their goals. So that driver might be either they associate themselves as or their values associated with being a father. So bending down to pick up their kids, obviously pretty damn important. So if they can't squat down to pick up their kids, that's going to impact on how their self-worth at home. Same goes if that person can't squat and they are associating themselves as a fitness fanatic or a strong person in the gym, and they can't get in and do a bodyweight squat or a loaded squat, then that's their identity jeopardized or threatened. So the way you kind of change that or challenge that within clinic is, if someone's coming in and they've mentioned their family a few times, and I'm just getting the sense that their families are quite a strong driver for picking up their kids and so forth. Find out a few details about the kids. Obviously, ask them what their kids' names are, what age are they. You can even go into height, weight, because that gives you an insight of the loading mechanics that they need to do to pick up the kid at home. Okay, so values generally kind of stem back to that. So if you're curious about your own values, I'd highly recommend going to a website called Brené Brown, and if you just put in the values-based worksheet into Google with Brené Brown, and the whole list of values pop up. So today I am going to jump on and talk about my own values and what drives them, which is quite interesting because a lot of people, say for healthcare providers, we go in and we do these jobs, but then we don't know our own values or haven't done that deep work on ourselves to then guide and drive clients and patients changing their values. So, and identifying their values and if they're off kilter with them. So it's a pretty important thing. So a little side note, not sponsorship, but this is an awesome coffee. Baristocracy, highly recommended. Check them out. Definitely beautiful. It's caffeine that fuels me, so happy days. Definitely going for the Castillo Cactura variety. Beautiful, kind of like a pistachio nugget caramel chocolate type. So highly recommended. Caffeine addict. Don't apologize for it. So circling back to my own values, I recently used Brené Brown's little value-based goal thing to then create like a little bit of an acronym. So therefore I can use that as a guide. So if it is a case I'm feeling off kilter or just out of whack or just not balancing myself, center myself with my values and my little acronym to make sure I remember my values and whether I'm living them daily, weekly, or monthly, and then having a reflection back on it each time. So starting off, the first word is cash. No, I'm not a money hungry person. I'm probably the furthest thing from that money hungry person. But it's a case of that's what the acronym spells, so I had to go with it. So cash stands for curiosity. So when I first set up my online company a few years ago, back in 2016, online 3D physio or physio web coach as well, my hashtag or my kind of tagline as such was be curious. And that was motivated by, obviously, on the back of following Apple's journey and be different and all these type of little quotes that I was like, oh yeah, kind of resonate with that. So be curious for me is curiosity stemmed from a constant strive to understand and explore and travel and just find out something, because irrelevant of the situation, the person, or the environment, there's always someone that can teach you something, or you can learn something about yourself through that person, through their eyes or through their lens. So it's quite an interesting value for me that I kind of live and breathe it every day. I'm constantly curious, trying to find out new things. I'm asking them difficult questions of myself, of others, whether that be in clinic or just at home. I have like a daily reflective journal that I do, to delve into some of these deep and awkward and sometimes tricky questions, because you're finding out some home truths that might be difficult to process and digest at times. So that's a strong value for myself. Still live it, still breathe it, and try and check in with that, and just maintain that curiosity throughout life is going to be one of my kind of key goals. The second one, the A, is being authentic. So at certain stages in my life, I've been up and down with the authentic side of things, not fully embracing my authentic self, and trying to fit into a mold or a model that was fit for the general population, but not for myself. And on the back of COVID and on the back of everything else, I think what we'll find is people are going to be a lot more authentic, because hopefully they'll be asking themselves these questions and won't be shy to put themselves out there, because it's a case of they can have that time to reflect and pause and take the foot off the gas and digest who they are and who they want to be, is my hopes and aspirations post-COVID. But fingers crossed, we'll wait and see. So being authentic, and that's being authentic in your relationships, that's being authentic at work, that's being authentic in your social life. So an example would be, do you go to work? And I remember reading an interesting post before by Adam Meekins about, do you curse in clinic? Do you fucking blind in front of the patients? Actually enough within reason. But he was saying that he curses when he's not in clinic. So when he's going into clinic, if he's not cursing in front of patients, is that then technically him being inauthentic to him and his true self? And there's obviously a line, and that famous quote, not quote, phrase, it depends. So if patients coming in and you feel that message would resonate with them, you may drop in a few F-bombs here and there just to get the pointer across, or just to interact them with them, to know that you're not some all-powerful, all-high being God that doesn't curse, and you live a disciplined life of nutrition, don't smoke and never taking drugs or drink alcohol. That's not reality. We all do them things. Sorry, personally me anyway. But being authentic to yourself is a strong thing to do, and strong quality to live by every day. Serenity. So serenity is flex the guns, Aya, Towerdum Shivness, Mishnah, August Kill. So Shivness means serenity. The serenity prayer that you will see commonly associated with the AA Alcoholics Anonymous mean. No, I am not a recovered alcoholic. My dad was. Not technically recovered, but it's a case of, and that was a prayer that was on his memorial card. God grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So I got that tattooed on my arm because I wanted that to be a philosophy, or a kind of eulogy to live by, and make sure I could always remember him. And that's obviously tattooed on my arm, so then that centers me. If it is a case I'm having a bad day or challenged by a specific situation, I reflect on that and take that away in a very stoic-like approach and say, well, what can I control? What can't I control? Right. Is there a difference? Yeah. Okay, well, let's focus on what I can control, and see from there. So that's one of my values. The final value in that phrase as well is health. So there's a difference between health and fitness. So fitness is obviously the ability to perform. Health is not just your physical health, it's the emotional health, it's the mental health, it's obviously your physical health as well. And I'm a bit of a hippie, what can I say? And spiritual health, or your soul as such, but that's for another day. And if it's a bit more palatable for you, so thinking almost about your subconscious health. So what's happening subconsciously from underneath, and what everything that's risen up over the years has that manifested in some other way, shape, or form. So anyway, that's a talk for another day. So in terms of health, it's pretty important to me because I've realized that I invested a lot of time previously in fitness. So when my dad passed away quite young, hell for leather, running, doing loads of exercise, puking my guts up on the side of the street whilst running, and for no apparent reason. So it was a case of I was pushing myself physically. So my physical health was in top-notch form, but emotional health wasn't great because it was a case of I hadn't processed and grieved as you should naturally. And therefore, that was an imbalance. So that's why there's a difference and a caveat between health and fitness. They're two separate things, really. And you want to make sure that obviously your mental health is in check. Mental health and emotional health can be improved by physical exercise and health. But at the same time, they're the people that are difficult to treat when they come into physio, and they're all over the place coming in. I have this injury. You need to get better. You need to get better. And when you dig a little bit deeper, you realize that the shit's going down at his home or at their home, and they're sick of their kids or sick of their wife, and they need to get out and run because that's how they de-stress, or that's how they get away. And then if you're facilitating that without then helping that person realize, you need to go and have them conversations at home instead of just running away from this problem. And that's the difficult part of healthcare and physio that people don't see. So that emotional side, the mental health side, yes, it's really good for mental health with regards to fitness, but sometimes we have to ask the deeper questions and why they are motivated by that particular activity in the first place. So that whole kind of saying that, you're either running towards something or you're running away from something. So if you're running away from something, sometimes when it comes to physio and health and fitness professionals, we don't want to encourage people to keep on running because we need to actually put that block in there and ask them, what are they running from? So that's the first value-based set of my things. Really important and really dear to my heart. So hope that you found that helpful. There is a kind of second word to it, and that's cash flag. So the flag part is, traditional ones that you'll find in most people's values. So mine is around family. So obviously quite a strong family advocate, 2 lovely sisters, soon to be an uncle with one of them, and then I have 3 nieces and nephews from my other sister. So I love them dearly, all of them dearly. And my mum, don't have my own family as yet. And it's a case of looking forward to that day when that does materialize and happen. So fingers crossed. The other kind of catch with the family side of things is understanding, it really annoys me when I see that people just don't get on with their family. It's like, come on, that's blood is thicker than water, as they say, and a lot of things can overcome that. So, but it starts with having them difficult conversations of yourself and of the others. Learning. So I've been a lifelong learner. That's how essentially I started when I was 17, 18, once I was kind of going through the process of getting over dad passing away, actually, and with his ill health issues. So I turned my hand and focused on learning as a coping strategy to deal with the grief and the sadness and loneliness that I was going through without dad around. So that's stimulated me and has stayed with me since. And I'm happy to say that that's been a positive coping strategy. At times, probably not so much, where you need to stop learning and stop buying books and stop reading and attending courses and just focus on processing all these emotions, which I have done over the last couple of years. Woo! Adaptable, being adaptable, yeah. So being adaptable means I am the jack of all trades and master of none. I like a bit of Gaelic football, soccer, basketball, CrossFit, surfing, cycling, running, sprinting, distance running, 5K running, all sorts of weird and wonderful, even fell hiking, walking, running, all of them tick my box, and I will constantly strive and try new things and challenge myself in new arenas, whether that be mobility, strength conditioning, yoga, all these type of things. I will always challenge myself in these fields because I believe that the human body is adaptable. It's capable of so much. If you look at all the different sports and in sheer amazement of, you know, sports where you have your gymnastics where they can do some ridiculous events, movements. And then, you know, you see your CrossFit athletes, absolutely beasts, pushing into that red zone with relentless drive and tenacity. And then obviously you have the endurance athletes that just can go on and on. And anyone who's done any endurance events will know that you get to a certain place and your body's going, but it's just a mental battle. The body is just a machine and that's pushing forward, but it's powered by the mind. And you have them deep, horrible conversations in your head. You go to some dark places. I've known some people that just start crying in the middle of endurance runs just because they're 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 going through a bit of a cathartic process in their mind, which helps. And but then sometimes people get driven further into it because they need to push that 50, 70, 100 mile distance to get to that place again. So it's just understanding and interesting to think about them. Adaptable, the body is adaptable, different environments. Look, people live in Antarctica, Sahara, they live out in sea, on rigs, whatever, or boats. People are quite adaptable, and the human body is more powerful than we give it credit for. And the limitations we place on it are generally from our mind and not from the abilities of our own body. But it is limited if you do it too much, too fast, or too soon. So it's a case of just pacing it and gradually building back up into it. So that's the adaptable part. And then finally, growth. Keep on growing, baby. So it's a case of, with growth, it's a strong value of mine because it's how I identify. I always want to be better, grow and improve. I don't want to be that static person that's sitting around in 5 years' time, just still in the same place. I'm constantly reading books. Current book on my shelf is The $1 Trillion Coach by Bill Campbell. So he was a pretty much dude that was behind coaching, Google, Steve Jobs, all the kind of big shots of Silicon Valley. Very good book and very good coaching principles. And the more you listen into things at the moment, a lot about coaching, health coaching. Obviously, personal trainers are a bit godlike over the last kind of 3 to 4 years because they coach people through a lifestyle change, which is awesome, and really admire that. But it's a case of, if you want to improve your knowledge, understanding of coaching, get on it, because that's a really good book. That's a really good starting point. A coach is derived from the old, I think it's Czech or Hungarian, and it's a word for a horse and a carriage. The carriage was otherwise known as a coach, and it was helping getting a load or a person from A to B. So transporting that load. And it's a case of it. That's the same principles for coaching. You're helping that person get from A to B with a little bit of the direction sometimes here and there. But ultimately, it's a case of they're the ones that are steering the horse and the direction that they go. But they may need some advice to get there, get on the horse, and the direction to take initially. So that's my main thing with the growth side of things. Keep on growing. It's not going to serve you any harm. And if we're not moving forward or standing still, yeah, it's not a good place to be. You always want to be pushing on that edge of that comfort zone, because that's where the beauty happens. That's where you can see the world. So hope you found that helpful. So again, my values: curiosity, being authentic, being serenity, health, family, learning, being adaptable, and having a growth mindset. So growth mindset, if you want to know more about that, read Carol Dweck's book, Mindset. Beautiful book, highly recommend it. And it's all about looking at fixed versus growth mindset, and constantly developing. So values are pretty damn important. Obviously, if you dance around the business space, you will see a term called congruent leadership hopping around the place. Again, that just links into values, and linking into values and leadership. So it's starting to kind of creep into certain types of businesses. Obviously, the coaching is starting to happen in healthcare as well. And I know where I'm focusing my attention on in the future: congruent leadership, health coaching, and constantly trying to understand the social determinants of health, because they're quite important. But keep on trucking along. Values are the way forward. We all have them. They're like fingerprints. But yet we all have our own different values, but we leave a mark or a fingerprint on everything we do. So hopefully you're leaving the fingerprints on the people, the situations, and the jobs that you want to leave, because that's how you're going to be remembered. Over and out. That's me from Darren Finnegan. I hope you enjoyed it. 3D Pod. If it is the case you liked it, like, share, listen on any of the platform streams that you have. It'll be 3D Physio is my tag handle, and hope you found it helpful and enjoyable. But as always, have a great day and have a prosperous week.